My name is Teresa Lockwood. I reside in Vineland, New Jersey. I'm going to be recording a false pastor, Lois. Oh my gosh, I forgot her last name. Whatever, of the Antichrist, anti-Christian cult of the Ramoth Nazarene Church, formerly known as the Vineland First Church of the Nazarene. Just want you to know this cult destroyed my children as their evil false cult leader Wayne Clay pursued to destroy my children and tried to indoctrinate them, stalking them in schools or whatever, to try to sit there and convince them things that to actually poison their minds against me, by the way. So they use these perverted false leaders like their false minister Nelda Wee, so-called Lois, and all these other people, and they have the same evil demeanor that are very cookie cutter, okay, like this superficial tone in their voice, like and overly soft spoken to make them sound like they're spiritual, and they're not. They're very perversely carnal. So they're trying to sit there and justify how they were condemning the Ten Commandments, and their false leader echoing these other false ministers of the fraudulent Pentecostals, making false claims like that God gave the laws to prove that you couldn't keep the laws, and you don't have to keep the laws or whatever so they can be broken. Their false leader, William Clay, echoed those words from that I don't know, that bogus punk, whatever his name is. I just recorded him. I'm not even going to go to him or whatever, but he was actually influenced by the anti-theist, atheist lies by the fraudulent Pentecostals, by the way. So those ones who basically tries to pit religion against relationship of in Jesus Christ and all these things or whatever, and claiming, oh, why I hate religion but love Jesus Christ, is unbelievable. So these people are trying to alter it again and trying to claim to basically express a different way. I'm just going to record it and I'll show you. But this is the thing. This woman, right? She, first of all, when you hear her sit there and say things, and it's been throughout time that God told her, and she will echo a lot of lies and delusions from their false leader, William Clay, Eddie Haney, and all them or whatever. And she'll have her own delusional thoughts, claiming that's God speaking to her. It is not, okay? So she sit there and claimed, I don't know, today, day before, whatever, that God told her and asked her if she's honoring her mother that died like 10 years ago. No, he did not. They're separated from God, first of all. So, the thing is that, of course, we're to give honor to our parents, and that is honorable. So the thing that they're manipulating, and she's echoing their deception that opposes me, because I made, an authoritative teaching in regards what it is to honor, your parents, by the way, and that is to basically be good and be right, okay? So, and do what is right, okay? So these things have all been condemned, by the way, and yes, and then they were sit there and manipulate, that means you're making it all about you. These people did the same thing when I sat there and spoke against domestic violence, and sat there like, oh, you're selfish, you're making it all about yourself because I'm speaking against domestic violence and being persecuted and the victim of these abusive cult churches, by the way, okay, who are basically destroying, attacking, and mind raping people in my town. Of course, that's basically spread throughout the nation, as I said before, internationally, what have you. They are the toxic mind rapers of society, okay? It's really, 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 these people are really perverted. They have they appear to have this outward appearance of godliness. They do not. This is not godliness, especially when they have a superficial tone in their voice. It's basically, every time you hear that doesn't line up with appropriate emotions and cause and effect of responses or whatever, and bounces out. These people, it's a lie, like they're lying, okay? So the thing is that this woman, like, yeah, they're deceiving her and using her, but she's usable like a whore, okay? The thing is, she's perverted. Like, she expresses this, and she said actually admitted that she had false ideas in regards to, like, her mother. Now, I don't know if her mother might have been, like, as warped as she is. I very highly doubt that she was this godly, righteous woman. Who basically claimed to believe in God, by the way, in prayer and things like that. But it's really what I've listened to her throughout the years, as she's claiming to be this minister of God, which she is not. She's expressed an ungodly jealousy, regardless if her mother is right or wrong. Like I said, she has expressed and admitted that her ideas toward her mother and what was happening has been like distorted thinking. Okay, so delusional, by the way. So the thing is, she still does, okay? And she's going to express delusions, and she's basically does the same thing with the Bible. She uses perverted false Bible versions anyway. She's using the false forged Bible called The Voice, which is basically, well, a false translation version or whatever. So I don't think this one, I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna record her. I'm gonna show you what exactly what the deal is. This is the thing. So I basically did a video. What it is? How to love your. Well, yeah, how to love and honor your evil parents. Now the thing is, no, honor and obey does not mean the same thing. By the way. Okay, as she's portraying, as she's giving these false definitions, which is just nonsense. Okay, the honor and honesty is basically based in this the same root word, by the way, and it's to be honest and righteous in what you do towards others. Okay, so yeah, it is who you are to who you are. I'm sorry, who you are to others. So they go around often sitting there saying, well, if it's about you or whatever, you're selfish. It's all about me or whatever. And like I said, they have done that to me. No, I don't make it all about me. And I am going to bring my testimony against their ungodliness, by the way. And I can sit there and say, yes, I, my, and me. So the thing, yeah, just like Jesus and the prophets did. Okay, these are the rules that they had in their church before. She's been exploited, okay, and used for their evil propaganda. And she's a willing submitter like a whore. Okay, so it's really, really disgusting. The thing is, sadly, she will infect your children with abominations that people do not see or undiscerning that are coming out of her mouth. But she expresses, like I said, much ungodly jealousy against her mother, and is perverting and using false doctrines created by domestic violence abusers. Okay, and people who are very evil, to actually sign as victims or whatever. And she's very confused. She doesn't even know anything about her mother. She can sit there and ask her mother questions about herself, which it seems like she did maybe in the last few years of her life or whatever. But she's just, you know what? It is all about her. The other thing, I'll say this. So when they sit there, because I basically speaking against and reported being a victim of domestic violence, heinous crimes being committed against me, okay? And the thing is, they're sitting there. Anybody witnesses against the evil, abuse, or whatever, they're calling selfish. They're doing this in our police department, by the way. The reality is, anybody who speaks against evil, okay, destroys the evil amongst the people, okay, and is not selfish. It is not self-motivated. Okay, anybody who tries to cover up the evil and justify the evil is the one who is selfish and tries to exalt themselves above basically that who speaks against the evil, the crime, the sin, or the abomination, and they're trying to silence that person. They are the selfish people. All right? Rather be for yourself, somebody else, or a whole nation, whole city, whatever the case may be, any community or whatever. Anybody who justifies evil over good are the selfish people. No, it's not selfish speaking against crime. But these perverted, false leaders that are not basically ministers of God will convince you anybody who speaks against the abuse is a selfish person. Oh, they'll sit there and say, well, that's selfish because you're trying to protect yourself. They sat there and claimed, if you're Christian, you'll let yourself be violated. Basically raped and murdered and tortured. And then they will sit there and pervert things of Jesus And how I basically, well, just basically, just was how do I say this? Yeah, died on the cross or whatever. And they're saying, oh, well, because Jesus was selfless because he said, forgive them before they know not what they do. You aren't forgiven because you're Jesus crucifier. Neither was anybody around him. So the thing is, everything of the gospel that basically is written speaks against the evil in society. Okay, justification of evil is an evil motivation to sit there and hide in darkness while you justify evil and hide the light. Anything that is truth that is speaks against evil is what the light is. But the thing is, they'll sit there and call themselves light, and light darkness, and darkness light. So they're sitting there claiming this message is like the holy message of God or something. The true gospel or whatever the truth. No, it is not. So no. Nowhere in the Bible sits there and says obey your evil parents. Does not in any way, shape, or form. But then again, there will be people sit there and disobey their parents, and they're evil, calling their parents evil and wrong. So I'm gonna go on. So she's going to display this perversion of depression and anxiety. And apparently she expresses how she was drugged up on medication for depression and anxiety. We all have depression and anxiety, even the holy prophets, even Jesus Christ, by the way. Yes, sin can find occasion with the law, okay? And depression is that against oppression. But if you stand on the dark side, like I mentioned before, yeah, your depression, which is holy, can actually be flipped backwards because you stand in evil. Because you're basically that of against what is good. So she uproots the wheat that tears, and depression is in our DNA. No, and when I sat there and said, oh, well, sin is in our DNA, this is the game they try to play, manipulating the situation. No, depression is not a sin. Depression is the opposite over oppression. Depression is speaking against the injustices of oppression. Excuse me, I have a cold. Is depression. So the word of the prophets and all God's ministers and Jesus Christ, Paul, apostles, and all through the Bible, Peter, okay, is an address of grievances against unjust oppression. It is depression against oppression. Depression is the opposite of oppression. This is basic common sense. I didn't have to be like schooled or basically learned or anything of the books of man to sit there and recognize the whole basic common basis of these words is depression is the opposite of oppression. I didn't know anybody tell me that. It's just basic common sense.
Teach us how we are to live
in
relationship to God. Now, this fifth commandment is the first one that he gives us. Teach us how we're supposed to relate to each other. Honoring God as our Father and teaching young children to honor helps set them up to live in relationship.
So she's setting them up for basically to be child molester protectors for the next generation. Okay, and yeah, they're using this word set up or whatever because I was actually set up, by the way, by my persecutors, Democrats, by the way, anti-theist, atheist, irreligious people who are committing hate crimes against me, forging false documents on me, and I will be doing a video on that. But because I am a child of God, by the way, because I am a good person. They go when I sat there and said that and how they are evil, and Jesus spoke against their kind as being evil. They went around calling themselves good. Oh, no, you're not, and you're not of God. Okay, so you don't worship the true God. You're a liar.
Honoring mom and dad is a reflection of how we're supposed to. He gives us to teach us how we're supposed to relate. If you do, day 68 years later, when Exodus Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. It says,
So,
you are to honor.
We're gonna listen to her evil perversion of the Bible, by the way. This is why people are confused. You know what? Yes, stupid people may be confused, but there's a thing. You cannot demand or command somebody to love and honor godly people. Love and honor unless they are of God. You cannot sit there and write down and say, this is what you're supposed to do. You are to love if they are not of God. They cannot. It's impossible. This is why they cannot love. They claim love, but they do not love. Okay? So they claim forgiveness, but they pervert forgiveness. So the thing, I wrote this before, there's a difference between co-man and D-man. Now, you don't have to know the specifics of that, but co-man is a cooperation, okay, and coming into agreement in righteousness. You're in a unity, okay, of righteousness. That's what command is. People can sit there and relate it to, oh, that's a military word, and I've heard people say that or whatever when somebody commands orders, demands orders, and there's a difference or whatever. But when somebody demands something, it's sort of like, oh, well, these people, they're committing crimes or whatever. So the law comes against them. It has to give them threats. If you rob a bank, you're going to prison. Okay? It's that simple. A co-man is like you're in agreement. Okay? So I'm going to go on.
Your father and mother. If you do, you and your children will live long and well in the land the eternal your God has promised to give you. The first 4 commandments teach us how we are to live in relationship to God. Now, this 5th commandment is the first one that he gives us to teach us how we're supposed to relate to each other. Honoring mom and dad is a reflection of how we're supposed to honor God as our Father. And teaching young children to honor helps set them up to live in relationship to God.
So they cannot do that, by the way. And they're basically misleading children away from God. Okay? And basically promoting their false God. As she's going to infect children, and I'm going to display this, with their ungodly jealousy. Okay? And you can hear in her tone and voice and the principles being used while she's insulting, like, the, I don't know, I guess the perfect ideal mother or something like that, which I can basically outdo. A lot of it, some of it is exaggerated or what have you. I mean, I'll get to that part.
God is all about relationships. The commandments are...
They all claim, they're all going around as a trend. First heard it started out from these people, and I had people bullying me. And when I sat there and taught them about Jesus, and saying that those who do not keep my commandments do not love me, they're like, oh, it's not about religion, it's about relationship in Jesus Christ. This is how warped their minds are. And they have nothing to do with Jesus, except for basically they're going to be judged by the Christ. Okay, and these people are going to hell, basically. They're damned for eternity and from generation to generation, so we're going to get to that right here.
There as guide rails for us.
That was stolen from me, by the way. I basically have taught it to the William Clay or what have you, that law is like a guardrail, okay, to keep people on the road. For people who swerve or sway, by the way, but it's a law to keep us like on a track. I use the term like guardrail, okay, like on the side of a road. So that was actually stolen from me by Vineland Calvary Chapel and the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department, William Clay, okay, and they had somebody else copyright my original expression of using law in comparison to that of a guardrail. okay, to keep us on the road.
Relationship. The promise connected to this commandment isn't that you're going to live to be really old. I've heard people completely misinterpret the promise attached to this commandment. You're going to live.
They have not expressed that. They might have basically had somebody manipulate the situation. But the thing is, she's playing games, and she's going to pervert the Bible and misinterpret the commandments, by the way. So, no, I never heard of this whole thing that people will sit there and say, oh, you'll live like, a long life. She speaks against prosperity. Of course, yes, the commandment is talking about prosper. It's basically that in reflection to a nation, by the way. Okay?
Live long and live well. That means you're going to live long and prosper if you do this. That's not what God is saying. God's telling us how important relationships are to living a good life. It starts at home with parents teaching kids respect and obedience, and by the example that we set in loving God.
Okay, so Peter rapist, child molesters basically demanded the whole obey your parents type deal. I've been basically raised in a cult surrounded by pigs, Peter rapist, perverts or whatever, in basically a foster care system. I was not, like I said before, I was not molested. There was attempts made or whatever. I did become a prime credible witness and persecuted since I was a child and hidden in the system to basically silence me. Okay, and these perverted churches, by the way, are part of the system, and they echo basically only lies they are convinced of, that basically are antichrist, anti-Christian, that basically they are all used to silence victims, by the way. Basically, they are part of the child sex trafficking ring in these churches.
And being in relationship to Him. Let's take a look at that word, honor. What does it mean? The contextual definition of the Old Testament, honor means heavy or weighty.
No, it doesn't. Liar.
So to honor someone is to give weight to who the person is. It means to show respect and to give authority to. Specifically in the context of Exodus chapter 20, it means to prize highly, show respect and to obey.
It does not express in any way, shape, or form in regards to any context of Exodus 20 of honor your father and mother, honor your parents, or whatever, in any way, shape, or form, or to prize highly whatsoever. It simply means to be humbly honest, if you will. To be righteous. Like, judge your parents righteously. Like, if your parents are evil, like, judge them rightly. Speak against their evil. That's how you honor somebody. Oh, wait, she's going to slander her mother, by the way, and falsely claim and promote their propaganda, and basically said that her mother didn't understand why she was depressed, and basically because of her pain, her pain clouded her thinking. That's not what happens. But these are brainwashing false ideas that basically she is used and exploited to use her as a puppet by William Clay and Eddie Haney, who are perverted and evil. So they're convincing you of their perverted doctrines to hide their evil.
As I was researching and praying and putting together the sermon for this morning, God asked me a question.
No, He didn't.
Lois?
God's not speaking to her whatsoever. Well, I'm sorry. God is not speaking in connection to her in relation to her basically being able to hear God. She cannot hear God. Her thoughts are her own thoughts, by the way, and her ways are not God's ways, and her thoughts are not God's thoughts. Yes, my basically words are basically that of in the mind of Christ in God. Yes, you know yours is not. And if you quote that from the Bible, you will be a liar. It does not apply to you. Seek God, you liar.
Are you honoring your mom because you're a good daughter? Are you giving a mental acknowledgement, or is your heart in it? Because in your heart, you've forgiven her. What about honoring her? Honor merely a duty?
So another false doctrines that they echo, and they basically were condemning like duty. They don't even know what they're talking about. She's just echoing lies and false doctrines that they basically are echoing. So they try to sit there and say, "Oh well, the law of Moses was a duty, and Christ is basically out of compassion." They're pathological liars.